Cool. Well, welcome all. Thank you so much for joining us. And I am absolutely delighted to have friend and colleague Robert Cook join me today. Robert, for those of you that don't know, is an industry veteran, although he'll hate me for saying that. Previously of Malmaison and Hotel du Vin, also of Host More and many other fantastic jobs, but I'm sure Robert will tell us a bit about himself. And then, so for today, I'm going to have a quick chat with Robert as he's on our board. We're going to talk about why guest personalization is important. We're going to have a little look at how we do it at Obvlo. And then there's one final thing. Those of you that know me know that I quite like to do one final thing in these, just to point a few bits out. And I've got a nice one to share. So, Robert, welcome to our, we did a LinkedIn Live, and this is our second webinar. And it is absolutely a pleasure to have you join me. Would you mind just telling the audience a little bit about yourself and how you came to get involved with Obvlo, maybe as a good start?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you said, James, I was previously CEO of Malmaison, Hotel du Vin, De Vere and Village Hotels. Spent 4 years in health and fitness at Virgin, where I really got data under my skin. Then went and floated Fridays to become Hostmore PLC. I first met founder Callum about 2.5 years ago when he first showed me what he was up to with Obvlo. And for me, it was something that the industry desperately needed. And it sets the hotel apart from the rest because of its connection to really getting to know what the guest wants in terms of a visit to a city, a town, the hotel itself. And it's simple, it's easy to use, it's massively informative, and it really takes the given hotel, really sets it above from the rest of the pack if it adopts what we've got here. And you're getting huge engagement from guests, really good feedback from guests in terms of trip advisors and so on and so forth. On what they think of it, but also from the hotelier's point of view, you're getting rich data to get to know your guest better without having to the expense of a concierge department. You're saving quite a lot of money on in-house printing, and most importantly, you are getting closer to your guest and absolutely preempting what they want in their stay with you and what brings them to your hotel in the city that it's in. So, and it's so easy to implement. It's dead simple, and it doesn't have to get in the way of your IT department's daily prayers. It can be installed very, very simply. So with all of that, it was really a hotelier's dream that we could have all this data at our fingertips, and therefore I was really keen when I was asked to come onto the board to do that. And it's been a great journey so far, and I think there's an awful lot more to give.
Thanks, Robert. That's really helpful. What I wanted to do is just talk about. We'll have a look at the deck in a little bit, but I wanted to pick your brain a little bit because I think there are some real challenges out there in the marketplace. Firstly, staffing is tough. Price is really high. Inflation is there. There's all these sorts of different bits and pieces. But the other thing, sort of, I've noticed that there are so many barriers for hotels at the moment to promote themselves and to get out there. Social media is one way, but brand sites really are such a struggle to change anything. And we think of all these hotels globally that have brand sites that have these fantastic food and beverage restaurants, they have these fantastic bars, but really very little way to firstly promote them, secondly bring them to the forefront of the guest's mind when either pre-arrival or when they're in-house. And I wondered from your experience, how, Malmaison Hotel du Vin is just, has a reputation for fantastic food and beverage. And was there anything that you could bring forward that you think was done well or done badly there that could really help hoteliers to understand how to better personalize and better get this stuff in front of people's faces?
Well, I mean, when we launched Mal and HTV, particularly when I launched Mal, because we brought HTV into the stable a bit further down the line. I mean, you couldn't get a decent meal in a hotel. You couldn't get a great food and beverage experience in a hotel. And I remember, having came from one of the larger groups myself, to hear, 1% of your total revenue came from F&B. Now we launched Mal, and it's well documented that when we bought Hotel de Van, 65% of that business came from its restaurants. The old days at Hotel de Van, you booked your restaurant booking and then booked your room. I mean, it was complete. This is what happens in most hotel groups. First of all, the business was good at what it did. It gave a very simple proposition. It delivered it really well and consistently. But we started long before digitalization or digital transformation. We started getting closer to the guest and what they wanted, guest history, and how they used the room and how they used the hotel. And we just kept working at that and building a profile of what the guests wanted. And, we used to get guests saying to us, where's the next hotel? What's the next one? When's the new menu? What's happening next? What's going on next? And I think what Obvlo has now helped do is it's got those bigger faceless organizations who weren't particularly good in food and beverage or not very good at people about food and beverage, yet had the great proposition within the four walls. It's now bringing this live to the guest pre-arrival. It's aligning with what the guest is looking for in their preference when they come to a place. And it's personalizing that journey for them. And actually what we're seeing in the hotels that we've gone into is that we're driving food and beverage covers, which is utopia for any hotel general manager at local level and also for the corporation, for the corporate itself. So this is nothing new in terms of driving people to serving great food and great wine at the right price and great value for money and all that's not a new thing, but actually getting it in front of that traveller who is coming to your hotel, to your city, and don't have to go outside the four walls of your establishment to drive F&B. And we've seen general manager after general manager after general manager say, since we've adopted Obvlo, we're seeing food and beverage covers grow, and that's probably one of the hardest nuts to crack for any hotel group, for any hotel company that's maybe not been renowned for food and beverage. We're beginning to see that wall being knocked down by the use of Obvlo.
Wow, Robert, thank you so much. That's a huge amount sort of unpacking there. But I think the other thing as well, you sort of mentioned it, I think what's become a bit more of a mantra for us is, in revenue management, we talk about selling the right room at the right price to the right person at the right distribution structure to make the most money from the hotel. And I think one of the learnings that we're getting out of what I'm certainly getting from Obvlo and working with our hotel clients is making sure that we show the right content to the right person at the right time, either that's pre-arrival or when they're in the hotel, to ensure that firstly, the relevant food and beverage is pushed right up to the forefront of their mind. So that's the first bit. And then secondly, that they get a great experience when they're in-house, because you normally, and again, you see this in TripAdvisor constantly, if the guests are getting a good experience from staff, it comes through very strongly. But the digital side of that just is, it's very, very left undiscovered. And I think what Obvlo brings to that is that digital side. It really absolutely, it really nails it. But also understanding what a guest is doing in your hotel. That's the other big challenge. Every time we speak to hotels at the moment, it's like, how do I get control of my booking.com guest arrival, or if my Expedia arrival, I don't know why they're in our hotel. We don't get any details about them. How do I start to understand them? And I think hoteliers have a real challenge in that area. Again, probably much more of an issue now than it was when you were working at Mal and Hotel de Van, but it really is such a challenge. That guest that's come through booking.com, there's very little place to promote your own F&B. There's very little place to show them what the hotel is about. And so that's something I think Obvlo also does sort of really, really well. But sure, we're veering a little bit off into the sales world of the platform, but that's not the point. I think the point really is, how do we get these guests to see this stuff and actually use it and come away with a good on-property experience?
If you truly want to get to know your guests, look at their behaviors, understand what their needs and aspirations are, look at what really their touch points are. Obvlo can really help you and get that directionally right. I mean, I can use an example outside hotels. So when I was at Virgin Active, we knew that if we could get people into classes, into spinning, into yoga, into Pilates, or we get them to adopt PT we made them stay with us longer in terms of their duration of contract. You know, we made them more stickier, and we got to know them, and we got to know if they liked the bike at the front of the room, near the instructor, the bike at the back of the room. We got to know all that sort of stuff. This stuff's at the hotelier's fingertips. So if they can see how a guest uses a hotel when they come and stay, and get to know them even though they come through a third-party channel, then we can bespoke their future stays, we can bespoke our product. It actually helps us find our true north as a business by getting all this data at the end of our fingertips. And data is what the world's all around now. And this really helps. And as I said earlier, for me, looking at it as a hotelier, who is slightly cynical about IT and all the things that my IT department used to tell me things could do with the bells and whistles, this is dead simple. It's easy to implement, easy to adopt. The guests love it. The engagement is way up in the 90s. So it's a really revolutionary tool that is simple and inexpensive to install.
Cool, thanks, Robert. Cool, we're going to pop track into the deck. And Robert, just pitch in anytime you think you have a little bit to say, because I think it's important. But if we think about why is guest personalization important? So according to, again, this is a fantastic report out there. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's really worth digging out because it's very, very clear on this. 56% of consumers say they will become repeat buyers after a personalized experience. Personalization is essential to any hotel's business strategy. According to the same report, almost 69% of business leaders are increasing their investment in personalization despite challenging economic headwinds. That's really easy to say sort of across industries. But when we think about hospitality, what is the, why is it important for hotels? And Robert hit on most of these things, just talking about his experience earlier. So I'm not going to spend too long going through them. I'd rather show you the platform and how it does this. This is a guest satisfaction in an era of sort of low staffing, but also very high pricing driven by inflation, but also by strong hotel performance. Personalized experience, it enhances guest satisfaction. It increases loyalty and repeat business. Again, loyalty is so critical to all hospitality businesses. For those big chains with their Bonvoy or Hilton Honors or whatever it might be, but also for the independents out there who operate their own loyalty, gives a competitive advantage. Again, if your guests are getting good guest satisfaction digitally, it goes hand in hand with providing a personal service that works well with guests, but you can cover a lot more of your guests with that digital experience. Higher revenue generation, again, talking about making the right offer to the right person at the right time, we can do that. And positive reviews and word of mouth. Satisfied guests are more likely to leave positive reviews. And again, that might be a little clue to what we have coming right at the end of this. But I wanted to just show you a little bit about what this personalization looks like, because it's all well and good for me to preach about it, but actually, how does it work? But the other thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit before we see the demo is personalization is talked about pretty much in every conference that I attend. We talk about AI, we talk about personalization, but in terms of how that actually works, there's very little out there in the marketplace that is actually doing these things and understanding the guest and using that data in a way that is proactive, actually works. And there are some luxury providers out there that do a great job of tracking these things, but for the most part, this is something that is a pipe dream for the majority of the segments out there. And I think Obvlo has come an awful long way. So how do we do it? So we use AI to give the right recommendation to the right guest at the right time. And we have curated guides shown to guests based on real-time personalization. I'm going to show you what that means. So I'm going to skip out of the deck. I'm going to come into a demonstration of one of our platforms. This is our demo hotel. I don't know, Robert, before I started showing the demo, did you have any comment on that, on any of those bits?
No, I think not wanting to repeat what I've said. I think you've covered everything. I think the more will come out once you show the demo, and we can take it from there.
Okay, cool. So the first thing is we go through the personalization flow. So what we ask a guest why they're traveling. So why are you coming to London? So I'm coming here for work, and I'm traveling with colleagues. And then we're going to ask you what your interests are, the guest's interests. So here I've put, I'm interested in coffee, I'm interested in co-working. I'm not interested in theatre because I'm with colleagues, but we're going to have some client drinks, and I'm interested in some group dining and some laptop friendly spots. Again, it's a work trip, so I'm interested in that kind of thing. And the first thing that we're going to get here is, this is the platform that loads up for the guest. It loads up in mobile, it loads up on a desktop really well. So if the guest is receiving this in a pre-arrival email, you're starting to control the guest journey. And the first thing we get, because I'm traveling for work, I'm getting an offer here for our hotel, which is a co-working hotspot. Enjoy a desk for the day, along with coffee and a pastry for only £15. Again, it's simple, but it's additional revenue. But again, if you don't know that person is there staying for work, you might give them a Valentine's offer. We're really close to Valentine's Day, but if you don't know what they're doing in your hotel, you might give them the wrong offer. We've got a stay and sip offer here, which again is a drink at the bar. If we come back up and change the personalization and say that we're traveling for fun and we're traveling with family, and again, the personalization completely changes. In our London database, we have over 1,000 listings. I think it's 1,400. The point is not to deliver all of them to everyone. It's to deliver the relevant ones for the person, for their interests. So if we pop this in with some theatre and some family fun, again, the platform's going to generate based on that personalization. So again, instead of a co-working spot, I've got great for families, kids dine for free when staying with us, and breakfast in bed. Very, very strong leisure options for this guest. And then we're into the guides again. So our hotels control the Palace favorites because that is their choice. They usually put their own food and beverage in here. And then we've got, again, based on the personalization that I put in and the things that I'm interested in. So I put in about being in a family and wanting to go to the theatre and free things to do with kids. The platform brings all of these experiences to the forefront of the guest's mind. Again, I put in coffee, and then we get some group dining and some kid-friendly attractions. Now, this platform will look different to every single guest that is in it. So it'll look completely different. Like if we go back to the top and change this now, and just flip it to work and colleagues and group dining, we're going to take theatre off because we're there for work and we're not going to have time, but we're interested in client drinks, fine dining and laptop friendly spots and co-working spots. Again, the platform completely changes. So if we scroll down again, we get our co-working offer and a brand.com offer. We get the favorites, which always remain the same. And then suddenly we're into a different personalization again. So we put in, we want to go for client dinner. So this is going to bring through some more formal restaurants. And then because I put in that I'm interested in finding some co-working spots and some laptop friendly spaces, this is going to give me some of those places in a full guide listed in distance from the hotel that I'm staying in. Again, really quite simple, but really, really effective. And we're giving the right content to the right person at the right time. Again, not something that is difficult for us to set up, no integration required. But yeah, it really is a great way of pushing your own food and beverage. I did want to just show you one of our customers to show what that looks like, because that's really important too. So we'll have a quick look at Virgin. I think we've got the similar personalization. So if we're here for fun and we're here with family, let's pop some of these in real quick. Again, so this is for our customer, the Virgin in Edinburgh. It's a demo site for them. So because we're on a tourism, on a leisure stay, we've got Discover Edinburgh like never before. And then we've got their food and beverage that sits in here. So this is their bar restaurant. And again, with a really strong, again, this is designed by the hotel as well, because it's their restaurant. We've got this fantastic call to action here for that customer who's coming to stay in the hotel, which is every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Enjoy an evening at the chef's table, which is absolutely fantastic. I would highly recommend it if you're in Edinburgh. And there's a book now button, which takes you straight through to the booking engine of the restaurant for that hotel, for the Commons Club. Really, really highly recommend it. But the idea is to promote as much as possible your own food and beverage in here, so that you can push it front and center. Again, we've all checked into a hotel late at night and not seen the bar or the restaurant because it's either shut because it's late, or it's in the roof and you didn't know it was there. So how are we getting that in front of the guest? how are we getting it so that they can actually see it? I'm going to pause there, Robert. Any comments so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think what this demonstrates, if you're in a situation where you don't have concierge, you may even have automated check-in, check-out, no receptionists. What a way to stand out from the crowd and offer such a great service if you've adopted this, because you're really adding value to the guest experience. That without having the accoutrements of concierge and reception and so on and so on. And also, if you do have reception, it makes life for reception a lot easier. It means it's a less cluttered space in terms of workflow. So this really, I think what James has shown you here is it's what it's all about. But it's got all the advantages that if you are, as in a staffing light organization, that you can still bring fantastic service and some fantastic hospitality through this platform to your guests.
Thanks, Robert. No, it's a really good point. And actually, seeing was that just on that note, like the low staff environment, which is a lot of hotels are facing at the moment. Absolutely fascinating to visit a hotel in Edinburgh and see the 8-page Word document that they print out with local recommendations in it, let alone their own bar, which is in the basement there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'm just going to come back to the deck. We're getting close to the end of the time, so just present this real quick. And I wanted to leave you with this final slide as one final thing. And again, I'll read this out because if you can't see it, it's an absolute cracker. So this was in the TripAdvisor review of the Virgin Hotels Edinburgh, which I just showed you the platform there. It was in January 2024. I think it was only last week. Amazing, you won't be disappointed. This hotel from start to finish literally had everything you could want. The little touches were amazing, like the scan the QR code on your room card to check out what's happening in the area, to the tartan trousers they wore. And it wasn't me wearing the tartan trousers, but this is the scan the QR code part is Obvlo's platform in as branded as the Virgin Hotel as you saw just now. And it's just an absolute testament to the that one little extra piece of service that this customer has had, that they have mentioned it in their TripAdvisor review. And it was a great moment for us in the office when this happened, because it's such a great validation of that extra bit of service that just goes that extra mile to make what is already a brilliant property even more fantastic. So yeah, it was just something I wanted to pop in at the end, because it really speaks to what we're trying to achieve at Obvlo in terms of the service, in terms of the experience, in terms of pushing the food and beverage up high into the forefront of the guest mind. Yeah, and it was just something I wanted to share. But yeah, that was it. I don't know, Robert, did you have any parting thoughts for us? Or
I think, for me, and that's why I wanted to get involved, because I was so impressed with it. It's a no-brainer if you want to stand out from the crowd. If you want to give true customer experience and you want to get closer to your customer and give them a personalized experience, and you don't have the labor and the manpower to do it, this is the way to circumnavigate that issue very, very easily.
Cool. Well, thank you, Robert, so much. There will be a deck we'll send out to those that attended, and we'll share that on social media as well. But it was absolutely brilliant to see you. And thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon. Thank you to those that attended. And any questions, please drop them to me either via LinkedIn or via email. It's just james@ovlo.com. Thanks a lot.